This is the TNA Wrestling October 10, 2024 full show results video which takes place at Nashville, Tennessee at Skyway Studios. The show started with a 6-women tag team match between Sol Ruca, Masha and Jordynne Grace versus Wendy Choo, Rosemary, and Tasha Steelz. Grace started off by giving Choo a series of strikes and a suplex, and Rosemary interfered to give Choo the advantage. Ruca clotheslined Choo and Rosemary, but Rosemary threw Ruca to the outside, where she was taunted by Steelz. The heel team had the advantage on Ruca, and Ruca hit her cutter move on Rosemary and tagged Masha. Masha hit a series of moves on Steelz and gave Choo the snowplow. In the end, Jordynne Grace gave Steelz the juggernaut driver, and Sol Ruca, Masha and Jordynne Grace won the match by pinfall. Gia Miller interviewed Josh Alexander, Saint, and Sinner, and she asked what was going on with them. Alexander was annoyed but answered, and he said this would have never happened if Eric Young and Steve Maclin had minded their own business. He asked what they had done lately and talked about Canadian pride, and was happy Saint and Sinner were by his side, and also said they would be now going by the name of the Northern Armory. Nick Nemeth came to the ring to an enthusiastic reception, and he got on the mic and said he loved being the TNA World Champion. He talked about facing Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory, and the crowd chanted "We Believe." Hendry's music played and he walked to the ring. Hendry talked about challenging for the title, and he said Nemeth was one of the best. Nemeth said a lot of people believe in Hendry and there was a mutual respect, and said that Shawn Michaels believes in Joe Hendry. Hendry asked how John Layfield was going to affect their match, and Nemeth said he was reading the situation wrong, and Hendry needed to worry about Nemeth. First Class walked to the stage and interrupted, and AJ Francis claimed to be the main event of Bound for Glory, and he insulted the crowd. First Class got in the ring, and AJ said that Hendry was on the pre-show before he came along, and now he's in the main event. Fans chanted "We Believe," and he said that Hendry only became popular after doing songs about AJ. Hendry sang some of the songs and they traded more insults. Nemeth and Hendry agreed to team up, and Santino Marella walked to the stage and made the tag team match for the main event of tonight. Ash by Elegance and the Concierge shouted insults as they gave Heather Reckless a makeover. Heather's back was to the camera, and they suggested Botox. The next match happened between Josh Alexander versus Eric Young, and the result of this match was Saint and Sinner caused distraction, and one of them kicked Young, which led to Alexander to deliver jackknife, and Josh Alexander defeated Eric Young by pinfall. Young tried to attack Alexander after the match, but the Northern Armory laid him out in the center of the ring. After that, there was footage shown of Steve Maclin being laid out backstage. This led to Alexander wrapping Young's ankle with a chair and hitting a diving knee drop on Young. Gia Miller interviewed TNA Women's World Champion Jordynne Grace, who was looking for Masha. After that, she entered a room with photos of multiple members of the TNA roster being X'd out, with Grace being in the center of the frame. Mike Santana walked through the crowd and got in the ring for a promo and talked about Moose. He said he does everything with intent and purpose, and he attacked Moose in the locker room to show that he isn't safe anywhere. Moose interrupted and said he had gotten the best security available to not deal with that nonsense again, saying Santana was nothing but a dumbass. However, Santana retorted by saying Moose was being a bitch for hiring security, but said Moose was justified in bringing security for protection because they came from the same background. The biggest difference between the two was that Santana still walked the streets he grew up in, while Moose forgot where he came from. Moose responded by saying he did forget who he was because it helped him grow as a professional, while Santana was some kid from the projects. This was a trap, as the System, Brian Myers, JDC and Eddie Edwards, attacked Santana, but ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, and the Hardys made the save. Santino Marella appeared and booked Moose to face Mike Santana at TNA Bound for Glory, and said that the tag match had Bound for Glory implications. The next match happened between the Hardys, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, versus ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. Matt and Bay started the match, and Jeff and Ace went at it next, and Ace took Jeff to the mat. The Hardys double-teamed Ace, and fans were solidly behind the Hardys. Bay made a comeback on Jeff, and Bay dropkicked Jeff from the top rope for a 2 count. Ace got a 2 count on Matt after a kick, and ABC double-teamed Matt. Jeff made the tag and hit a series of moves on Ace, and the Hardys hit 2 twists of fate on Bay, but the System ran in to cause a disqualification. Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards attacked both teams with the title belts. This brought out Santino, who made a triple threat match for Bound for Glory, and he said it would be a Full Metal Mayhem match. The next match happened between Leon Slater versus Jason Hotch versus Laredo Kid to become the #1 contender for the TNA X Division Championship. Mike Bailey sat in on commentary, and this match was to determine a contender to face Bailey next week for the X Division title. Kid did a dive from the top rope to the floor and followed with a frog splash on Slater for a 2 count. Hotch went on offense for a bit and Slater did a spectacular 450-cent splash from the top rope to get the pin on Hotch and become the #1 contender for the TNA X Division Championship. Jordynne Grace called out Masha Slamovich regarding Slamovich having her kill wall back up and said she believed she and Slamovich had an understanding regarding that. Slamovich responded that there were no hard feelings, but she had her eyes on finally winning the world title at TNA Bound for Glory. In the main event of the show, we saw a tag team match between Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth versus First Class, AJ Francis and KC Navarro. AJ got a 2 count on Nemeth after a senton and Nemeth fought back. Hendry made the tag and gave KC an overhead slam. He lifted AJ on the second attempt and slammed him to the mat for a 2 count and Nemeth super kicked AJ out of the ring. KC drop-kicked Nemeth and Nemeth super-kicked KC. Nemeth gave KC the standing ovation, followed by the Famouser, and Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth won the match by pinfall. Post-match, Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry exchanged some healthy words, and the show goes off the air.